XRP has seen its fair share of volatility over the last 24 to 48 hours. A lot of liquidity has been extracted from the market through pumps and dumps, and this is pretty standard within the crypto space. It can catch a few people unawares if they are not expecting such volatility in such a short space of time. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the technical analysis on XRP, sharing my thoughts and opinions on the small, medium, and longer term views for the price action of XRP. As I get into today's video, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right down into today's video. Kicking things off with the 1 hour time frame here for XRP, right? This is an extremely volatile time frame. Every candle represents just a single hour. And we saw a bit of a move to the upside, right? So from Sunday at 2200 hours all the way through to Monday at 1100 hours UTC, we saw growth for XRP coming in at about 6.29%. It was pretty decent, but that was short-lived when we saw a big drop to the downside here, coming in at 4.21% in a very short space of time. It caught a lot of people unawares as they were thinking that maybe things were starting to get a bit of recovery in the market. This was again met by extreme volatility to the upside with an additional 4.29%. So liquidity essentially was extracted on the down low here when we saw a lot of the long positions getting wiped out of XRP positions. And then a couple hours later, you see all the short positions also getting wiped out as that price surged all the way back up. And of course, we're right in the middle of all that action right now in terms of the price action, the point of recording today's video. Now, at the moment, the price action of XRP is finding resistance on the convergence of the 200 1-hour EMA, the 50-hour EMA, and the 50-hour SMA. As you can see here, we've had a death cross with the 50 SMA crossing down lower than the 200 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. That happened right here this morning at 0200 hours, so basically just after midnight UTC. This was obviously then met with more volatility to the downside, dragging that price lower than the 200 hourly EMA. Okay, so it's important to understand that there's a fair amount of volatility being experienced by traders who are kind of, going long or short on XRP. There's some opportunities within this, though. If you understand how to trade the breakouts or the breakdowns, that's probably the better way to do it, in my opinion. There's obviously a lot of order blocks and things that you can take advantage of as well and actually take part in liquidity hunting, which is what I think has actually unfolded here in terms of the price action of XRP. So on the 1 hour time frame, yeah, we've seen a fair amount of volatility, but it hasn't really broken the highs or the lows of those ranges. For example, as we can see, this is area of range that we were kind of consolidating and finding resistance on between 57.61 and 57.95. And then on the low side, there's this pocket right here as well, where we actually have found this to hold with no closed positions below it, right, or inside it. This low range being 55.7 to 55.96. So we are going to be looking for a closed position in either of these areas to dictate whether or not we are going to have a breakout, as in we are looking for a closed position ideally above that range there, and that would be above 58 cent. Anything above 58 cent on a closed position could signal a bit of a run to the upside, and likewise a break to the downside where we see a closed position lower than 55.7. That would allow us then to go short. So two options really. You kind of have your long positions up here with a tight stop loss and at least a 1.5 risk reward ratio, or we go short by a closed position down here targeting out that lower range, which I'll talk about on the medium time frame in a moment, and a tight stop loss in here as well. Again, minimum expectation would be at least 1.5 risk reward ratio. Okay, so there's plenty of opportunities to trade within these ranges. You just need to kind of pick how you want to do it. You don't want to just kind of be gambling, go long, go short, and all that kind of stuff. You want to be at least using some form of educated guess as to which direction things are likely to go in. And a breakdown or a break up in terms of a breakout and a breakdown in terms of a confirmation is kind of one of the things that I use a lot. Now, in terms of our smart money concepts, we can see here that we are right inside this pocket of a fair value gap that was created on the 7th of August. This fair value gap is basically on the low range of 53.9 up to that slightly higher range of 59.1. Okay, and this represents an area of illiquidity. And what I mean by that is there was a lot of buyers buying and not enough selling. And as such, the price surged to the upside. Okay, so this represents an area of illiquidity, and the market likes to put liquidity where liquidity was not. And so the market here has corrected down and almost filled out that fair value gap. Now there's this yellow box area down here that's just lower than this fair value gap. This is a really interesting area that I do think we're likely to retrace to. It's also an area where we see equilibrium, okay, coming in on the market here at 53.2 to a slightly higher range at 54.2. Okay, this equilibrium area is 50% area of a premium. Okay, you're paying a premium price and a discounted price on the lower side. It's 50% between those two levels. Okay, so this is an area where you tend to find support and you tend to find resistance on equilibrium. And it also happens to fall in line with this Elliott wave theory target here that I have on the daily time frame, which I'm going to talk about as well. So everything that's going on the 1 hour time frame is basically just screaming volatility. Don't get caught out in the ranging market, trade the breakout or the breakdown. Let's roll this up into a daily. So our daily time frame is quite interesting. We do, of course, see the idea of this move to the downside right in line with our 50 SMA on the daily time frame. You're finding support at the moment on the 50 EMA. That's currently sat at 54.99 cents. The 200-day EMA is sat at 54.28 cents. And that 50 SMA is at 53.45 cents. And our targeted range here is coming in at 53.26 to 54.03 cents, right in line and sandwiched between the 50 SMA and the 200 EMA. Now, I'm not looking for a close position down here on the daily time frame, as I do think that we're going to get a close position above that 200-day EMA, but it's not going to stop a wick from coming down here, grabbing some liquidity, finding support on the 50 SMA, and then bouncing from here. Okay, it would complete our structure. So if I take this to a 4 hour time frame where we can actually talk about why that is an interesting point of targeted range, right? Because we're in here, to me, this looks like we still have that potential for a fifth wave move to finish off our structure. Okay, this is a big 3-wave pattern. It's ending in 5 waves. So to me, it looks like we still have that targeted range to the downside to enjoy before we can get into the next big runs to the upside. Of course, this would be invalidated on anything higher than 58.13 cents. Anything higher than 58.13 cents breaks that idea of that fifth wave target and that retest of the daily 50 SMA that we see down here. Okay, so lots of things to be thinking about in terms of the price action. I do think we've kind of reached an X wave low point before we get into that next big surge to the upside. There's lots of real news in the market that's going to potentially fuel that. So obviously, a lot of people know about what's going on with the SEC and Ripple, and whether or not the SEC is going to appeal. They've got until October for that. They'll probably drag their heels because that's all they've done so far over the last few years. So don't expect any instantaneous kind of gratification for that. But I do think when it's all put to bed, we're going to see either the SEC appeal, in which case this whole thing gets dragged out even longer, which is a real possibility, or they'll settle and accept what the court has said, and essentially, we'll see confidence come back into the market. So for XRP, we do have those kind of higher range targets here on the daily time frame between 75 and 85 cents. Okay, that's going to be our kind of Y wave high. And that's going to signal a bigger breakout on a bigger macro scale, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of our daily chart here, we're still looking for volatility. I don't think we've finished just yet. We do have a nice 5-wave move to the upside. So we're looking for a bit of a correction to the downside before we can get into the next leg to the upside. Now, if we take a look at smart money concepts here, you can see on the daily time frame, what do we have? Well, we have a big fair value gap. Okay, this was created on the 7th of August. Slightly different ranging here on the daily time frame than it is on the hourly time frame, for example, but you can see this one sits between 52 and that slightly higher range of 57.7. Okay, so this fair value gap also happens to coincide with equilibrium. So our targeted range is here. Maybe a wick will come down a little bit deeper than my expectations, come in, fill that liquidity gap, that fair value gap, and come down to test out equilibrium, which again is that discounted area, 50% area between the discount and the premium ranges on the chart, the high and the lows of the previous swings. And so this is an interesting area for potential support. Not that I'm saying that we have to fit it out and there's no guarantees of anything like that, but it's something to bear in mind as XRP has a potential retracement on the horizon. Let's turn the smart money concepts off, bring in our stochastic RSIs. you can see our daily chart has actually turned down. We had that negative cross on Saturday the 10th. I think I spoke about that on Saturday the 10th, where we basically see this stochastic RSI, the yellow line, crossing down lower than the white line. The white line is the smoothing of K, is what it's called technically, and that is essentially a moving average, or a glorified moving average of the stochastic RSI. And when you cross positively, you have bullish momentum, and when you cross negatively, you have negative bearish momentum. Okay, so here we've had that cross. We potentially are going to see another positive cross coming, so potentially an upshift in the market, but not just yet, in my opinion. If we turn the stochastics off and bring on the RSI and the divergence indicator, you can see bearish divergence being printed here, as we kind of come up into this higher range. Actually, on 2 occasions we've seen bearish divergence. Basically, price action here is not supporting the RSI, and we are seeing downturn in the market. At the moment, we're hovering at just above that 50 level, showing some bullish momentum, but again, this is a real danger zone for the relative strength index, in my opinion. So we'll keep a close eye on that. And volumes basically signal exactly that. We can see that during this push to the upside, the volumes should be a major concern for people, because we have seen a decrease in volume versus that of the sell-off. But most recently, with a little bit of buying pressure here, as we found support on that 50 EMA, it has actually increased on the selling pressure. So there's a little bit of hope, but the volumes are very, very low at the moment. Okay, we want to see a lot more volume coming in if we want to see some more confidence in the price action of XRP in the longer term. But let's roll this up into a weekly and talk about that longer term, because if we actually take a look at this, we are just bouncing between the high and low ranges. We're in a ranging market at the moment for XRP, and there still is potential for a little bit more slippage to the downside. I'm not looking for our bear market low to get broken though. At 28.72, I think that's going to be holding up for quite some time, but we have to consider that we are in lower highs and lower lows on this weekly time frame, and it basically can be running to completion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't see a push to the downside at a later stage. What we're looking for, in line with our targeted expectations here, is a breakout on the daily and weekly time frames. We're looking for a higher high to be set on the daily and a higher high to be set on the weekly. If we can do that, that's going to be a great place for XRP to basically show strength to the market and potentially see more bulls come in with their trading positions. So for XRP here on the weekly time frame, there's a lot to play for, and it does look like we have a lot of things to look forward to, specifically with a price target between $5.59 and $11.25. This target is driven mainly from speculative investment due to kind of great news when it comes to the SEC versus Ripple. Everything that's going on with the lawsuit, everything from the secondary sales on exchanges not being securities to the $125 million fine, the injunction that's incredibly loose. This is a positive place for XRP, and once that case is completely put to bed and the SEC can no longer kind of appeal or cause more problems for Ripple, and we have clarity, I think we have a strong shot at $5 to $12 XRP. Now it may go higher, it may not go as high as that. We won't know until we kind of get into those kind of territories, but this is where we currently sit, considering everything that happened in 2020 into 2021, everything that happened from 2021 to 2022, 2023, and where we are today. Everything is lining up for this move and this slingshot towards $5.59 to $11.25. So for our kind of price action on a bigger macro scale, everything is still on track. Although I can't rule out a move to the downside a little bit lower than we currently have seen in the last couple of months or so, it doesn't necessarily distract us from these targeted ranges. The only way that these targets drop now is a price action lower than 28.8 cents and setting a new bear market low for XRP. If we see that, then the targets change. Outside of that, the targets remain true. So guys, that's going to wrap up today's video, but you can let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments down below. Where do you sit when it comes to the price action of XRP? Are you as bullish as I am in the long-term future? Let me know. And join us in our free Discord server so we can continue and engage with you guys on a day-by-day basis over what is going on with the SEC versus Ripple and everything XRP. The link is in the description down below. And guys, check out my second technical analysis channel just here, and make sure you stay informed with all the TA that I put out on a day-by-day basis.